Hello everyone, Jeff with a Greener View. We were tearing apart a tree well made out of bricks spaced all the way around in a big circle several feet high and about 10 feet across, where a large tree was going to be cut down and the soil filled back up to the original soil level. As we were tearing apart the bricks, we found 7 chorus frogs. Now, chorus frogs are one of North America's smallest vertebrates. They're only about an inch and a half long. They're in the tree frog group rather than the aquatic frog group. The aquatic frogs spend the winter under ice in the ponds, whereas the terrestrial frogs, the tree frogs and the other frogs that don't live in the water continuously, but just live in moist woodlands and moist grasslands, they have to spend the winter in a protected location so they don't freeze. Now, that protected location can be buried under the ground. Now, these were in an area where they were a couple of feet down from the original ground level, but they weren't down in the ground. They were just at the ground level in the tree bottom of the tree well, but they were in the brick wall. So they were trying to protect themselves. When we took this apart, we didn't have any other location nearby that we could find that we could put them in. So we decided to build them a temporary wintering location. Now, in zoology, wintering locations for animals are called hibernaculums. Bears and bats use a cave as a hibernaculum. Chipmunks and snakes and other animals use a hole in the ground. Amphibians, like the frogs and salamanders, don't really dig very well, and so they work their way down through any pile of debris they can find where they can get down deeper into the ground. Some use holes that are left over from crayfish or chipmunks or other animals, and some just use big piles of sticks and branches and stuff where a brush pile is. Anything that they can get down below a level where there's going to be a long-term freeze. So we're going to build a hibernaculum for these frogs. Now, we do have the frogs in this milk jug, a little bit of water in the bottom right there. And the reason we're doing this right now is because it's so cold and a big cold spell is predicted. So we couldn't just turn these frogs loose where they were at and hope that they find a new place to overwinter. So this hibernaculum we've built here has another milk jug in the center where there are water can remain, because these frogs do need to remain moist, so that we need a lot of humidity in the area where they're at. We have some large rocks in the bottom so that they can get in and get on the rocks without having to be submerged in the water. Then we've got some large rocks in the bottom of the 5-gallon bucket where they can also get down into if they decide they need to be that humid and close to water. Then we've got a lot of bark mulch and some leaves packed in around this to try to insulate that milk jug inside of this 5-gallon bucket. Then the 5-gallon bucket is going between large bags of leaves left over from our trees, and then we're going to wrap those in house wrap that will stop the wind from blowing through as much. So, and then we're putting this whole thing underneath this table and against the house foundation. So we don't want this to be a warm place. We want it to be cold. We just don't want it to be freezing. And so we're going to move them into here, put this down there, cover it up, and wait until spring to see what happens, see if we've kept them alive so we can go back and release them where they were originally found, and they can then spend the next summer looking for a new place that they can spend the winter. Well, it's spring. It's still cool weather out. Today's overcast, a little sprinkly, and so we're trying to take this apart to see if we can see if the frogs have made it. We are starting to hear chorus frogs outside in the wild, and so that means it's time for these guys to move out. And we have not heard any in the yard, so we don't think they're moving out yet. If they're here, if they made it, and so if we can take this apart, then we can find out, and let's see what we've got. Well, it looks like we've got a couple, and so we will move these guys back to their original growing area. Well, I've been letting them go, then I realized I needed to film, and I've got a couple of them that are hiding in the handle here. Hard to see, but they're still hiding up here in the handle of the milk jug. So what we're going to do is just leave the milk jug sitting here and let them work their way out. We could try to cut it, but if they jumped, we might injure them or something. So by just letting these guys just hide out here, they will be out in a little bit, and they will be gone shortly, I hope, and we'll get rid of the milk jug later. And this has been Jeff with the Green Review. Thanks for watching.